Our new Vanna begins with Haruto, who became shut in for 5 years after being bullied at school. Then suddenly, a flash of light occurs and a goddess welcomes him to heaven. She carefully chooses Haruto to be reincarnated since he died in his room. The goddess is about to reincarnate him into a magical world, so she blesses him with a set of overpowered skills. Thinking back on his boring life, Haruto wants to enjoy this new one, and thus he is reincarnated into a royal family as the first prince named Rihard. His father is King Jilk, and his mother is a hero named Galt, who defeated the Demon King. However, when the court mage performs a magic aptitude test, they see that Haruto is only at level 2 with just barrier magic and no elemental magic. This would be considered a disgrace to the king and the hero if the public found out that their newborn is weak. So his own father and mother order their servant to silently dispose of Haruto, considering him trash. The goddess observes the situation and becomes worried. She tells her friend that she granted Haruto a level of 1002, but this world's level measuring device won't go above 2 digits. Moreover, she forgot to give him an elemental power. As a result, Haruto is thrown away into the woods. This goddess is a bit of a knucklehead. Anyway, in the woods, Haruto recalls the barrier magic that the mage mentioned, so he imagines it and the barrier appears. He can also freely change its format at will, so he uses the barrier on himself to fly up into the sky. Haruto is pleased with his powers because they don't even burn a little bit of his mana. Then Haruto lifts the whole area out from the ground and the wolf realizes she's totally screwed. She surrenders to him, but Haruto thinks his ears are ringing. Haruto still proceeds, and then the lady wolf speaks, surrendering a second time. Haruto realizes it was for speaking. Haruto introduces himself and explains to her that his father, the king, threw him away for having weak mana. But the wolf lady named Flaw can see that Haruto has an enormous amount of mana that easily surpasses human limits. Seeing this, Flaw mistakes Haruto for being a demon king, and Haruto goes along with her imagination, saying that he was a demon king in his previous life. Flaw then waits for a punishment of death for trying to kill Haruto, but Haruto shows generosity and spares her life. Haruto uses his barrier to create a telepathic link between them to transfer their thoughts. Then, a man arrives claiming to be Haruto's relative. He came to save him and take him in, but Fla claims that Haruto is her master, so he belongs to her. His name is Gold, and he offers some milk for Haruto, but Fla refuses. Gold tells her that he lost his first child during childbirth, and Haruto was abandoned because he was weak. He wanted to save him because it doesn't matter to him if he's weak. He believes every child should have a chance to live. Hearing his backstory, Fla bursts into tears out of sympathy. Seeing her reaction, Gold offers to take her in as well. They come to a deal, and Fla agrees to his offer. Gold then breaks Haruto's basket to fool everyone into thinking Haruto died. With that, Haruto is adopted by Gold and his wife, Natalia. 9 years go by, and in that time, Haruto gets a little sister named Charlotte. However, it's clear she doesn't like him. Instead, she loves Fla and wants to play with her. But Fla disagrees as she needs to help Haruto. Haruto asks Fla to go with Charlotte, and she agrees. Natalia tells Haruto that Charlotte is perhaps shy around him because he's a boy but is carefree when she's with Fla. Natalia wants Haruto to be social since he's the heir of their family and suggests he do something special for Charlotte to bond with her. However, Haruto is planning to leave home once he comes of age. He even made a clone with a barrier, but doesn't move or talk. If he were to go off on his own, naturally Fla would follow him, and if that happens, Charlotte would hate him for her entire life. Then Gold calls Haruto out to the yard because he wants to train him in swordsmanship since Haruto has the lowest amount of mana. Haruto knows he won't get away from it. Also, Gold is a seasoned warrior at the top-notch level, nicknamed Earth-Shattering Warhammer, so Haruto uses a barrier on himself to make up for his lack of physical strength. When Haruto tries to strike, Gold sees the powerful attack and dodges it in time because it's powerful enough to put a dent in the ground. Gold is surprised to his core. However, Haruto still thinks that he's at level 2 because when he tested himself, his level showed as 002. But even with that level, he can do anything he wants with his barrier magic, even if he lacks elemental power. Later that night, Natalia notices that Gold is lost in thought. Gold tells Natalia that he trained Haruto today, but after seeing his powers, he thinks Haruto might be a reincarnation of a demon. There are records that one of the royal family members got involved with a demon, so it could be possible that Haruto has demon traits in him. Since the demon wolf, Fla, considers him her master, it could be possible. However, both Gold and Natalia don't care and want Haruto to live a normal and happy life. While everything seemed to be going fine, one day Haruto heard a commotion outside. He saw through his surveillance barrier that his father's army had been seriously wounded by attackers. Haruto rushed to his father, and Gold told him it was the work of thieves who had attacked them out of the blue. Flea blamed Gold for his incompetence, which put Haruto in a bad mood. He healed almost all the wounded soldiers with his barrier magic, but didn't tell anyone he had done so. Later that night, when Haruto woke up to answer nature's call, he saw Flea standing outside his room. Haruto realized she was still upset because he had gotten angry at her earlier. She really was cute. Haruto apologized for losing his temper, and then he and Flea went outside. He used his surveillance barrier to locate the thieves who had attacked Gold and his army. Fortunately, one of his cameras spotted them, so Haruto quickly used his barrier to fly himself and fully to their location. Incidentally, Charlotte saw them flying away. At the thieves' hideout, some soldiers were involved with them. Unfortunately for them, Haruto arrived, taking down their guards. He quickly froze the thieves with his barrier magic, and when one of them tried to speak nonsense, Haruto made an example out of him. After tying them up, the captain of their group told Haruto that they were soldiers of the neighboring empire infiltrating to cause chaos. They even had a mole working for them, helping them pass the borders of the empire. That was all they knew. Haruto realized that someone more influential than Gold must be behind this plan. The attackers begged for their lives, but Haruto ordered Flea to burn down the entire fort, as he couldn't spare those who had attacked his father. Flea burned it all down. Now the matter at hand was to find out why the Imperial soldiers were involved in attacking his father. For the time being, Haruto sent an anonymous letter to inform Gold about this. He mentioned the mole at the border and how he had taken down the thieves and their fort. Somehow, Gold also suspected the involvement of the Imperial family. Meanwhile, Charlotte wanted to know who had helped them. Gold suspected Flea, given she was a demon and a powerful one at that, but Charlotte remembered seeing Haruto and Flea flying. She asked Flea, thinking there were two Harutos. When she saw Haruto flying, she ran to his room but found him sleeping like a log. However, she couldn't sense Haruto's overwhelming mana while he was asleep. Flea was impressed that Charlotte could sense Haruto's mana, and as few people could do that. Charlotte wanted to know more about Haruto's powers, but Flea kept silent. Charlotte later told Haruto about this, and he started setting up more surveillance barriers to keep an eye on her movements as he wanted to hide his powers from her. For several days, Charlotte kept following Haruto whenever he tried to sneak out, spying on him. Finally, on the 7th day, the situation reversed and Haruto was the one keeping an eye on her. Natalia and Charlotte were about to go on a trip. Haruto suddenly received an alert from the barrier he had placed around Charlotte, indicating they were in danger. Their carriage was attacked by Imperial soldiers. Natalia fled to save Charlotte, blocking their magic attacks, but one spell hit her leg. Haruto communicated with Charlotte through a barrier spell, guiding her to safety. Natalia noticed someone was guiding Charlotte but didn't question it. However, their escape led them to a high cliff. Even so, Natalia jumped off and landed roughly. Charlotte pointed out a cave where they could hide. Natalia took her inside and saw it was filled with luminous plants. She told Charlotte she would go out to find the hero who had helped them reach the cave and asked Charlotte to stay hidden. Just as Natalia left, the cave was covered by an illusion spell and the attackers found her. Natalia considered ending her life rather than being captured, but her dagger was shattered into pieces and an electric shock knocked her out. Haruto arrived just in time, furious that these men had harmed his mother. With a single command, he sent them flying away. He brought Natalia into the cave, asking Charlotte to look after her. She stopped him and asked if he was the hero who saved people and punished sinners. Haruto hesitated, as it was such a childish question, but eventually he went along with it and accepted the role of a hero, asking her to keep it a secret. After cleaning up the mess, Haruto returned home and Gold got the news of their situation. He wanted to thank the mysterious hero who had saved them. Gold then asked Haruto about the incident, but Haruto remained calm, not worried about the Imperial soldiers, which Gold believed. Natalia and Charlotte then returned home and Gold was relieved to see them safe. For the first time, Charlotte showed affection for her older brother, shocking both of her parents. She kept it a secret that Haruto was the one who had helped them. As episode 3 starts, Charlotte now goes to Haruto every day to play with him, and Haruto doesn't dislike it, especially seeing her cuteness. However, Charlotte gets drawn to his surveillance screen and thinks it's ancient magic. Haruto explains that it's hard to learn wasp magic without proper information. Charlotte then takes Haruto to the castle's library, and he realizes for the first time that their castle has a library. Charlotte picks up a few books on ancient magic like a real librarian because their mother, Natalia, and Flea always read these books to her. Since she can't read herself, she sits on Haruto's lap to read the book, but Haruto tells her to sit beside him on a chair. However, Charlotte is used to sitting on Flea's or her mother's lap while reading. Haruto begins reading the book and discovers that gods can travel between worlds, similar to the anime he used to watch in Japan. Hearing this, Charlotte becomes excited and wants to know more about anime. Haruto tries to explain that it would be difficult for her to understand, but she insists. So Haruto simply explains that anime is like moving pictures. Seeing Haruto's enthusiasm, Charlotte wants to see anime as well. Haruto is swayed by her cuteness, and after 2 weeks, he somehow brings Google into this world. Since there were many genres, Charlotte gets a bit confused, but she eventually chooses a magical girl anime and becomes instantly captivated by it. However, the anime is in Japanese, so she wants to learn the language even though she's still a child. Haruto goes along with it and teaches her the basics. She turns out to be a genius, mastering the language in just 2 hours, and soon she starts searching for word meanings on Google herself. 2 weeks pass in an instant, and Charlotte's love for anime grows fully, especially for zombie and Power Rangers type anime. Haruto doesn't want to let her watch anime all day long, but she looks so cute while enjoying her shows. However, it could affect her health, so as a big brother, Haruto decides to be a bit strict. Since she's becoming an otaku, Charlotte wants to start another season of anime, but Haruto stops her, setting a ground rule of watching anime for only 3 hours a day, as it's not healthy for a kid to watch that much TV. This comes as a real shock to her. At dinner, Charlotte is dozing off, so Gold asks Haruto what she's been up to as she spends all her time with him. Charlotte quickly gets up to tell them that she's studying ancient magic with Haruto. After dinner, Charlotte continues to follow Haruto with her puppy dog eyes for more anime, but Haruto is firm about the 3-hour rule. She can tags along in the bath because she has nothing else to do besides watch anime. Typical otaku behavior. Charlotte notices Haruto's royal birthmark, but she has no idea it's a royal mark and instead thinks it's a hero's mark. Finally, when it's night, Charlotte is still sticking to him while their mother, Natalia, enjoys herself and supports Charlotte from afar. Then the day comes when Gold leaves to wipe out the remaining thieves, and Charlotte starts worrying about him. She wants Haruto to do something since he's the hero of justice. Haruto, once again swayed by her puppy dog eyes, gives in. She wants Haruto to transform like a hero, so he fulfills her wish by choosing the look of La Luxe Vi Britannia. Charlotte wants to tag along as well, but Haruto refuses because it's dangerous. Seeing her sad, Haruto gives her a live surveillance feed, which brightens her up. Haruto then finds those thieves and traps them with his barrier. It's way too easy. He confronts them to give Charlotte a live anime experience. After defeating them, Gold arrives and isn't hostile toward Haruto, asking for his name. Haruto, unable to come up with anything, names himself Still Pending. Honestly, it's the crappiest name, and even Haruto knows it. Gold wants to know his motive, so Haruto has to go along with cheesy hero dialogue to make her happy. This cheesy hero, Still Pending, becomes an embarrassing reality with many heroic deeds. After a few days, Haruto successfully creates a working clone of himself, but it becomes a carbon copy. Charlotte, who is right there, becomes confused seeing 2 brothers. Then Haruto and Charlotte are called out because the crown prince and princess are visiting them. Haruto knows they are his blood siblings, but when Gold greets Princess Moran first, Prince Lise thinks Gold disrespected him for being second. Lise is a cocky brat, but Gold apologizes. Moran tells him to mind his manners, but the brat starts insulting his own older sister because he sees Moran as a tool for political relationships. Haruto can't believe what his royal mother and father have been teaching him. Prince Lise continues his tirade and looks down on Haruto because he's Gold's adopted son and a weak level 2. He gets cocky and challenges Haruto to a duel in the yard to teach him a lesson. Haruto notices that Lise is at level 9 and could max out at 40. Lise takes the first swing, but Haruto dodges it quickly. Lise then orders Haruto not to dodge because he wants to teach him manners, so Haruto complies. But no matter how much Lise attacks, Haruto's barrier protects him. Lise becomes frustrated and demands Haruto fight back. This is what Haruto wanted to hear. He gets back in the game and beats up Lise hardcore. Moran intervenes, telling Lise to stop because he's making a fool of himself. His ego hurt, Lise uses a fireball to harm Haruto, but Haruto cancels his spell. Once again, Moran tells Lise to stop, but he thinks Haruto is cheating because it takes an intermediate mage to cast Magic Absorb. Hearing this, Haruto decides to return every fireball he absorbed, and Lise has no choice but to admit defeat. As a big sister, Moran apologizes to Haruto, but he doesn't mind and takes his leave. Haruto wonders if his royal mother and father are still keeping tabs on him, but then again, they did throw him away for being weak. Haruto realizes anything is possible. And with that, our episode 3 comes to an end. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive the latest updates on my newly uploaded video.
Leon was a walking corpse in business casual. The man hadn't had a proper night's sleep in almost 10 years, kept alive purely through spite, caffeine, and a stubborn refusal to die before finishing his next miserable work shift. After another thrilling day of getting yelled at by incompetent bosses and blamed for things he didn't even know existed, Liam dragged himself home. M greeted him at the door. He quickly filled him in. Konami had spent the whole day pleading for a dog after visiting a friend's house and falling in love with a Shiba Inu. Liam, half dead but still somehow emotionally functional, hesitated. But when he peeked into Konami's room and saw her snuggled under her blanket, clutching a plushie and looking like an angel, Liam's last brain cell made an executive decision. The next day, he took Konami to the pet store. She lit up like a Christmas tree on steroids. M was genuinely surprised Liam agreed to it. Wasn't he already working himself into an early grave? But Liam didn't care anymore. He had officially reached tired but compliant dad mode and believed that if he just kept his wife and daughter happy, he could survive anything. Unfortunately, the universe had been patiently waiting for this exact moment to body slam him into the abyss. At work, Liam was living a sitcom, if sitcoms were horrifying nightmares with no laugh track. His boss, a man whose only notable achievements were avoiding work and collecting thick Latina club stamps, screamed at him for not submitting a report. Liam gently pointed out that he had submitted it on Thursday. But apparently, his boss had been too busy losing brain cells at the club to notice. Somehow, this was still Liam's fault. Meanwhile, Liam's co-workers were busily climbing over him, like rats on a sinking ship. They stole his ideas, dumped their failures on him, and treated him like he was part of the furniture. Yet, Liam held on. He was the human embodiment of duct tape. Then, as if life thought, this is getting boring, it spiced things up. One morning, Liam's friend Nid messaged him about the latest Gundam drop and begged Liam to pick up a kit. Liam, exhausted but loyal, agreed. He hopped off the train, pulled out Google Maps, and promptly got so lost, he might as well have fallen into Narnia. While scanning the area for landmarks, he stumbled onto the real horror show. His wife was on a date with a dude in broad daylight, looking way too cozy. Liam blinked hard. Maybe he was hallucinating from sleep deprivation? Maybe that guy was her cousin? Later that evening, M greeted him like nothing had happened. She even lied straight to his face, claiming she spent the day being Mother Teresa at Konami's sword practice. Liam almost called her out, but like an Olympic gold medalist in denial, he swallowed it down. Surely he was mistaken. Surely M would never cheat. To clear his head, Liam decided to revisit the scene of the crime. Smart idea, right? Wrong. Not only was M back at the same spot, but this time Liam overheard her giggling on the phone with the dude. And Konami was there too. Liam's heart briefly stopped when Konami called the man Papa. Liam could feel his soul trying to eject itself from his body. Still, Liam clung to hope. Maybe they were role-playing? Maybe this was a really weird version of Take Your Daughter to Work Day? Maybe his life was a practical joke hosted by hidden cameras? At work, things got worse. Because of course they did. His computer froze. His boss screamed at him for taking too long to log back in. When Liam explained that the computer couldn't go into standby because of security issues, the boss screamed even louder, suggesting he just skip breaks. Human rights? Never heard of them. Right in the middle of this, M called with more wonderful news. Konami was in the hospital. Liam raced there like a man possessed, only to find out Konami was in surgery and needed a blood transfusion. Doctor asked for the parents' blood types. Liam says AB positive. M says, O negative. The doctor nods and chooses M to donate. Why? Because Konami is also O negative. Q existential crisis. Liam, ever the scholar, Googled blood type inheritance on his phone and discovered the truth. There's no damn way an AB father and O mother produce an O child. It's like trying to make lemonade out of steak and sadness. He confronted M, finally growing a spine after years of suffering. And she pulled out the Uno reverse card. She gaslit him so hard the hospital lights flickered. How dare he question her? He was never around. He was the bad guy. Never mind that he was working himself into the dirt so they could have a roof over their heads. M decided the marriage was over. She was taking Konami, not even his biological daughter, and leaving. Konami, the traitor, chirped that she liked her other papa better anyway. Liam, freshly kicked in the heart, stumbled back to work, where things somehow got even worse. He was accused of embezzling 50 million yen from his own company, using his own computer, with evidence so blatant it might as well have come with a neon sign saying he did it. He got fired immediately. Then M sued him for child support. For a child that wasn't even biologically his. Unable to pay anything, Liam became a construction worker, doomed to die beneath the endless, mocking sun before he could ever clear his debts. When he coughed up blood into his rice ball one lunch break, he knew it was the beginning of the end. That night, lying alone in his sad little room, Liam saw a light. Not the warm, fuzzy kind. More like a, hey, you're about to die but here's a plot twist kind. A mysterious man appeared. Stylish, suspiciously cheerful. He showed Liam visions. His boss was the real embezzler. M was cheating with said boss. M thought Liam was just an ATM with legs. They had been plotting together all along. Liam was just their human doormat. The man asked Liam, "So, you just gonna die like a chump?" Something inside Liam snapped. No, he would not die like a chump. He vowed vengeance with the force of 1,000 anime protagonists. The man, absolutely loving the drama, said he'd offer Liam a second chance. A new world. Pick any kind he wanted. Magic? Robots? Sword fights? Giant mechs? Liam picked the Gundam-style world Nid always ranted about. Good choice. Because the mysterious man also promised to reincarnate him as the son of a powerful noble. A count, no less. Fast forward to planet Hydra, 5 years later. Baby Liam was living large. On his birthday, his parents threw a huge party. Then came the birthday presents. First, a build-your-own-made kit, complete with customization options for blurred-out parts. Because nothing says happy childhood like ordering questionable robot maids. Next up, his dad handed him a contract. Sign this, and I'll give you the entire estate. Liam, starry-eyed and drunk on the promise of power, grabbed the pen without reading the fine print. He basically signed away his soul, his lunch money, and probably his future kids without realizing it. As his parents packed their bags for early retirement, sipping margaritas on the family fortune, Liam stood there, grinning ear to ear like the world's happiest idiot. He was officially a count now. And absolutely, 100%, definitely not about to get scammed again. After finally becoming a count, Liam had one thing clear in his mind. From now on, if anyone even thought about messing with him, he'd make sure they regretted it. Permanently. And as twisted as it sounded, he was genuinely grateful. Grateful to the strange man who had given him a second chance. Because right after Liam's soul was safely transported to the new world, that same man wasn't finished. Turning his attention back to Liam's old world, he found M and Liam's boss living it up in a fancy restaurant. They were laughing, sipping wine, gorging on expensive food, basically celebrating Liam's downfall like a couple of cartoon villains. At one point, Liam's boss, cheeks red with booze and arrogance, chuckled and said, "You know, I almost feel bad for ruining that guy's life." M, dead-eyed and full of venom, sneered back. "Feel bad? For him? Please. That idiot wasted 10 years of my life. He deserves to rot in hell." Well, the mysterious guide couldn't have asked for a better setup. At that exact moment, a battalion of police officers stormed the restaurant, surrounding them. Liam's boss, in a display of world-class acting, tried to protest. "This is a mistake. I'm a respectable businessman." But the officers didn't even flinch. They had the receipts, clear camera footage showing him planting evidence and framing Liam for the massive embezzlement scheme. There would be no plea deal, no way out. His future was a cold, hard prison cell. And with her sugar daddy hauled off in cuffs, Em was left sitting there, broke, humiliated, and utterly alone. No more fancy dinners, no more easy money. Just the creeping, miserable realization that she had backed the wrong horse, and the wrong horse just won the karma lottery. The guide, floating unseen above the chaos, soaked up the despair like it was fine wine. He smiled. Mission accomplished. Now, the final piece. He turned his gaze back toward Liam. It was time to fully transport Liam's soul to the new world. But this wasn't some fairy tale reincarnation. Oh no. The guide intended for Liam to suffer even more in this new life. But slowly, deliciously, over centuries. After all, the people of that world had lifespans measured in hundreds of years. The stage was set. Meanwhile, in the new world, planet Hydra was under siege. A ghost pirate fleet had launched a brutal assault, and things looked grim for the local defense forces. The pirate captain was practically salivating, certain victory was only minutes away. Then, boom. Suddenly, his men started blowing up, literally as if some invisible hand was plucking them off the battlefield. Through the smoke and chaos, the pirate captain spotted her, a lone figure floating menacingly above the battlefield. It was Christiana, first princess of the Holy Kingdom of Lei, clad in armor that shimmered like a blade under sunlight. An extraordinary fighter. A legend in her own right. With Christiana leading the counterattack, the tide turned swiftly. The pirate forces were slaughtered without mercy, their dreams of victory crumbling into dust. Even as the surviving pirates tried to flee, Christiana coldly ordered her soldiers to pursue them. They would make an example out of these fools. Back to Liam. Far away from the blood and smoke of battle, Liam was living a much smaller, but still life-changing moment. He had just received his aid, a special gift from his parents for his birthday. It came in an elegant doll-sized package. His butler, Brian, explained that all Liam needed to do was touch it. Curious, Liam placed a hand on the package. In an instant, a figure gracefully landed before him, a beautiful maid with long silver hair and mesmerizing blue eyes. She bowed and introduced herself as Amagi, his personal AI aide. Brian explained further. Amagi could operate 24/7, needing only weekly maintenance. She was designed to assist Liam with any and all needs. But Liam wasn't listening. His focus had locked onto certain assets. Without shame, Liam immediately began inspecting her. hands hovering like a construction foreman checking a building's stability. Brian, visibly sweating, coughed and reminded him that such behavior was highly inappropriate, especially in public. So Liam, grinning, invited Amagi to his room for a more thorough inspection. Hours later, Liam, now blissfully relaxed as Amagi gave him a shoulder massage, casually answered Brian's worried inquiries. "Don't worry about it, I'm mentally 36. Brian, aghast, informed him that even 36 was still considered a child here, since the average lifespan was around 600 years, and true adulthood didn't start until you were at least 100. Liam was stunned, but quickly realized this was amazing news. More years meant more time to live however he wanted, and most importantly, more time to be surrounded by trustworthy allies like Amagi. But then came the bombshell. Brian, after being ordered to spill the truth, revealed that Liam's parents had abandoned him. They had dumped all the crushing debts of the Banfield family on Liam's tiny 5-year-old shoulders and ran for the hills to avoid responsibility. Apparently, Liam's great-grandfather, Alistair, had built the Banfield name into something respectable. But Liam's father, a man with the intelligence of a wet sponge, had squandered everything. The family's industries had collapsed. Their frontier territories were barren. Tax revenue had dried up. The family owed a mountain of debt. In short, Liam was royally screwed. Meanwhile, in the local bar, the citizens of Hydra were gossiping about their new lord, a mere 5-year-old boy. One man grumbled, remembering how the last new lord had bled them dry with taxes. Still, they hoped, maybe foolishly, that this time would be different. Back at the estate, Liam sat in stunned silence. They had a kid just to dump the debt onto him. Again, he had been used, abused, and abandoned, just like in his previous life. But not this time. This time, he swore he would change everything. Liam asked Amagi to join him, to help him forge a better future. She eagerly agreed, thrilled to finally have a true purpose. Liam, feeling for the first time that he had someone he could truly trust, decided to implement some important safeguards. The 3 laws of Amagi, Banfield Edition. 1. Never do anything that would harm Liam. 2. Always obey Liam's orders, unless it would harm him. 3. Protect herself, if it doesn't conflict with the first 2 laws. With their alliance officially forged, Liam asked for ideas on how to save the Banfield domain. Amagi quickly suggested using an education capsule, a high-tech device that would pump 10 years worth of education into his brain in only 6 months, while simultaneously enhancing his physical body. Liam loved the idea, but there was a problem. Who would manage the domain while he was asleep? Simple solution. He granted temporary authority to Amagi. Brian protested furiously. After all, AI were widely hated in the Empire, a remnant of the legendary Skynet war where humanity was nearly exterminated by rogue machines. But Liam didn't care. He trusted Amagi more than any human. And there was no law explicitly forbidding an AI from acting as a temporary steward. Before climbing into the pod, Liam had one last question. Amagi, can you feel emotions? She hesitated, but admitted that when Liam asked her to team up with him, her memory logs had suffered a cache overflow, the AI equivalent of being so happy she crashed. With a smile, Liam stepped into the capsule, ready to gain the knowledge and power he needed to rebuild everything. This was only the beginning.